All right, hello everyone. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 or Web Development Technologies class, in this class currently we are going over two different textbooks. The first one, as you can see on your screen right here, is Murox HTML5 and CSS3 4th edition by Zach Ruvalcaba and Ann Bain. The second book that we go through is Murox JavaScript and jQuery 4th edition by Mary Delameter and again Zach Ruvalcaba. And we in the past have spent about 40 days on HTML, CSS, etc., and about 40 days on JavaScript, and the determination has been made that we're spending too much time on HTML and CSS and too little time on JavaScript. All right, so we're kind of flipping this a little bit, and what we will be doing and what I'm going to start doing right now is I'm going to start going over this. It may not look like it's very long, but this is going to take several lectures from Mozilla.org, and this is one of the best sites out there to learn anything web related. As you can see, this is called Learn Web Development. And you go down what is new, where to start, topics covered, etc., getting code examples, etc., etc. And then along on the side, they've got a little bit more on each one. Plus, notice they've got complete beginner's start here. Getting started with the web, all right. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, web forms, accessibility, tools and testing, and even a little bit on server side website programming. So I'm going to start going over this right now. And I did want to mention a couple things. First off, this, let's see, right here, this is the URL for this. A little hard to see maybe up there, but it's developer.mozilla.org/en-us/docs/learn. Now, this is part of the Mozilla Developer Network, all right, and that's here. The same URL that you saw before, but just up to the developer.mozilla.org, so it's right there. If you go out there, what you're going to find then is this. It doesn't look like it's all that great, but it's, again, a really fantastic place to get started to learn everything that is web. So notice the Learn Web Development. I think that's actually where I just was. There's a thing on web technologies, developer tools, so there's a lot of stuff. The other number one or number two or number three resource that I'd recommend you have available to you is w3schools.com. And I went out there this morning, and again, I will show you the URL right here. It's just HTTPS. You don't need that, of course. It's just the w3schools.com. And if you go out there, they've changed the look and feel of this a little bit. Since the class that we're about to embark upon is basically, there's more to it than this, but it's basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Notice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, don't worry about the Python. We're not going to touch that in this class. We're not going to touch SQL in this class, PHP in this class, Java in this class, C# in this class, and even though our book has jQuery in it, we're not going to spend very much time on that. All right? But when you look under tutorials here, and if I click, notice they've got HTML tutorials, CSS tutorials, so we're going to be going over HTML, we're going to be going over CSS, we're going to be going over Bootstrap, we're going to be going over JavaScript in this class. Plus, we're going to touch on things like JSON, Ajax, what else? That's most of it right there. Okay, Node.js would be another one that we're going to at least hopefully get into a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to go back here. All right, and it says, welcome to the MDN, which again is the Mozilla Developer Network Learning Area. This set of articles attempts to provide complete beginners to web development with all they need to start coding websites. And that's what we're going to be doing. So the aim, as it says, is not to take you from beginner to expert, but to take you from beginner to comfortable. I am basically of the mentality that very few people are experts. I don't consider myself an expert in much of anything, but I'm comfortable, as it says, in quite a few things. All right. From there, as it says, you'll be able to start making your way and going through the rest of this if you want to, etc. So this course, just so you know, the AWD 1000 course is all about front-end web development. So it says we have put together a course that includes all the essentials. I didn't even see this previously, but if you click on the Get Started, look, basic setup, web standards, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Boy, that sure looks like it would be good. I don't know if this, what I want to go over in here is going to be so big and so massive that I'm not going to be able to go over all of it, or if this is going to take hundreds of lectures or whatever. The other thing is when you look here, I'm taping this and I'm 6 minutes in. I'm going to try to keep this and break this down into bite-sized chunks. So in other words, my goal is for absolutely none of these lectures to be more than 20 minutes in length. All right, so we will go back over this. So where to start? Complete beginner, getting started with web module. Well, notice where to start. So there's a lot of it, complete beginner, start here. All right, so if I click on that, getting started with web module, all right, and I go back again, and I click on this complete beginner start here, it's the same thing. So there's going to be a lot of duplication and going back and forth between these two. Beyond the basics, as it says, if you've got a little bit of knowledge already, the next step is to learn HTML and CSS with their introduction to HTML, and then go to the CSS first steps. Then go into JavaScript first steps and server-side first steps. All right? And then, as it says, go into learning about client-side web development tools, JavaScript frameworks, server-side programming, etc. So there's a lot of information in here. So we're just going to take it from the top and go into the getting started with the web and then go through the HTML, then the CSS, then the JavaScript. We'll just do it in order. All right. And it's got a thing here that says our code examples are available on GitHub. What I'm going to require each and every one of you to do is to create a GitHub account once we get going. And don't worry about it. I'll make all this code available before the semester starts, so you'll see it if you want to. And just so you see what I'm talking about, it says it's all available on GitHub. So I'm going to go up there, and there's all of the code. There's the CSS, the HTML, the JavaScript, etc. I'm going to click on code and download zip. It's going to put it into my downloads area down here on the left. It's still adding. It looks like it's well over 100 meg. It's 129 meg. So I don't know what's all in here, but we will end up taking a look at it eventually. All right, so let me jump back. And there's a contact us and a C also. I'm not going to be going through a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to go back up to the top here. And again, I want to be cognizant of my time. I'm at 8.5 minutes. All right, but I'm going to go into the complete beginners start here. And as you can see, it says, this is a concise series introducing you to the practicalities of web development. All right, you'll set up all the tools you need to construct a simple web page and publish your own simple code. There are many ways of doing this. I'm going to show you at least a couple of them. All right, so the story of your first website. It says there it's a lot of work to create a professional website. By working through the articles below, you'll go from nothing to your first website online. Let's begin our journey. Okay, so the first thing that's in there is on installing basic software. And as it says, it will show you step by step what you need to begin website development. So what do you need? All right. Now, this is what these authors here say. And am I going to say I totally agree with this or disagree with this? I'm going to say this is what the authors say. All right. So you need a computer. Yeah, I've already got one. That's what I'm doing this on. You need a text editor. All right, I'm going to, in this class, be basically using Visual Studio Code. I may occasionally go into Notepad++, just because of the fact that it tends to look better when I'm taping like this. But probably the code editor of choice for most of us will be Visual Studio Code. Web browser. I'm going to recommend that everybody, if you don't have it already, that you download Chrome. All right, Google Chrome web browser. A graphics editor. Do you really need this? Well, if you're going to use this, I'd recommend that you download GIMP out of all the ones that are shown there. Plus, and I'll have to talk to Mr. Smith, who's one of my counterparts at the Rankin St. Louis campus, to see if indeed we're going to go and continue to use a different product that's not shown here. All right, I'm not going to even go into it right now, but there's a wireframe tool that we've used in the past. You are going to have to learn how to use Git and GitHub. I will give you some lessons, so to speak, in class. GitHub is the versioning control system. Git is the tool that we will be using with GitHub. All right, the automation system, let's not even worry about this stuff that's down here right now. So it says, what tools do I actually need right now? All right, and it says, by default, if you're using a Windows machine, which you should be doing if you're in this class, all right, you should have at least Notepad on your machine. And Notepad is a very archaic type of editor. It looks like this. All right, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's been around for a while and there's not all that much you can do with it. Now, I'd suggest to get started at a minimum, I would do two things. All right, and actually just one thing is really what you have to do, but I would come in here in my Google search bar and I would put in download Visual Studio Code. Not Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code. All right, and if I click on this, because I've already got it on my system, okay, and you go over here, it's to code.visualstudio.com/download. So added it in here into my list of URLs, and it's right there. Again, you should be using a Windows machine, ideally with Windows 10 on it. And if you click right there, all right, it'll then be available to you. Now, I've already got it on my system, but to try to make things a little bit easier to most of us in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out and I'm going to go into Control Panel, and I'm going to find my Visual Studio Code that I already have in here under Programs and Features. And it's Microsoft Visual Studio Code right there. And you can see I put it in March. All right, so it's 1.54.3. It probably is either the newest or about the newest that's in there, but I'm still going to mouse click on it and choose uninstall. It says, are you sure you want to uninstall it? Yes, I am. Just so I can walk through the steps with you, which are really, really simple. All right, it says it was successfully removed. So you look in here, it's no longer shown in my list of tools. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, what do I want? All right, and I'm going to choose, just click on right here for the Windows. And it's going to come in and it's going to give me an exe file down here. I'm going to right mouse click on this and say open when done. Feel free to read all this stuff as it says. There is the licensing agreement. All right, you can go through, you can print it out, you can read it online or whatever, but I'm just going to accept the agreement and I'm going to click next. And it says where you want to install this. Yours may be different. All right, your home drive may not be your C drive, etc. But this is where mine is going to go. And to me, at least, it's just fine. It says we need at least 293 meg of free disk space required. And I know I have that. So I'm going to click on next. And it says setup will create the shortcuts on our start menu, one for Visual Studio Code. If you don't want it, as it says, you just check right there. I think it's fine, so I'm going to click next. And it says select the additional task you would like setup to perform. A desktop icon would be fine. A I'm not going to add anything else. I'm going to leave the add to path. All right, and click next. And it says basically this is what it's going to do. So I'm going to click install. It should not take more than really 15 seconds at the most, I would think. And it's going to tell me that it's installed. That's it. So if I do want to launch it, and I'll leave that right there just so you can see what it'll look like. So I'm going to click finish. And here is Visual Studio Code. These are some release notes. I don't care. There's a getting started. Okay. And we will be going over this in class. But if you want to, if you have time to, feel free to go and install this on your own before the class begins. All right. So installing the modern web browser, I can do the same type of thing in here. All right, again, I have Google Chrome right here. Now, if I uninstall it, I'm going to lose all this stuff that I've got up here. But the process will be very similar to what we just looked at rather. In that, what I'll want to do is come in here and type in install Google Chrome. And if you want, you can even say on Windows 10. And there you go. There's the download. Download now. All right, again, I've already got it on my machine. And since I'm using a lot of these links, I really don't want to uninstall that. All right, but those are the steps that you go through. All right, installing a local web server. We really and truly don't have to worry about this right now. All right. So what will your website look like? And what they say in here, and again, I'm going to keep going back and checking my time. I'm on 17 minutes. I think that's actually a good place to stop. So we'll go through here next as it says, what will your website look like? Okay. And we'll run through that and then we will just continue on. All right. So ideally, what we're going to end up doing in here is going through back and forth, kind of patchworky, like most of the material that's in here. After we do that, I've already gone through, and I believe it's from the 4th edition. I believe I've already done PowerPoint, presentations on the PowerPoint slides that come with this book. And I'm going to double check and make sure that indeed I've got that version. If I haven't, I'm going to have to redo those. But this book is going to be new this semester. So I will have to go through and go through those. All right. So what did we just do? We started to go through the information that's in here. The Learn Web Development, getting started with the web. We went through basically, as it says, getting started with a web overview. And we did the installing web software. You can see what's all in here. All right. So we're going to go through all of that stuff as we go on. All right. I hope you enjoy this series. As always, if you've got questions as you're watching this stuff, and I'm going to be sending it out to everybody, but if you got questions, please email me at jpscott@rankin.edu. All right. I have been privileged enough to have my boss allow me to work from home this summer, so occasionally you might hear my dog bark. Occasionally you might hear the grandfather clock in the background, but this is where I'm going to hopefully at least be creating these videos. All right. I'll be back with the next one in just a bit.